A pair of new studies are raising questions about the safety of the chicken on our tables. The studies are getting a lot of attention because of a column in the New York Times today by Nicholas Kristof, who writes, among other things, "I grew up at a farm and thought I knew what to expect in my food, but Benadryl, arsenic." These studies don't mean that you should dump the contents of your refrigerator, but they do raise serious questions about the food we eat and how we should shop. We asked our own Mary Snow to take a closer look into this story. It affects almost all of us, everybody who eats chicken. What are you finding out, Mary?
Well, researchers say they were expecting to find antibiotics, but they didn't expect to find traces of ones that were banned. And the poultry industry is responding. Two recent studies raised questions about what may be in chicken. The findings surprised the Johns Hopkins assistant professor who worked on both studies that were brought to light by New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof. The goal was to look for antibiotics in poultry, which are used for growth, but they tested for other chemicals too.
It was pure surprise. They were included as part of the chemical panel that we used to test for antibiotics, which we did expect to find. And it was quite shocking to us.
Keith Nachman says in addition to finding 4 antibiotics banned more than 5 years ago, he also found the active ingredients of Tylenol and Benadryl, caffeine, and even arsenic. He says he's heard from farmers anecdotes that some over-the-counter medications are given to animals so they won't have tense muscles, which can lead to tougher meat. But he says there's no evidence of an immediate danger to people eating chicken because he didn't study chicken meat, he studied feather meal. Feather meal is a byproduct used as a supplement to feed animals.
We didn't look directly at chicken meat, so we can only make inferences as to what we think might be in the meat based on what we found in the feathers. And what it says to me is we really need to do a more thorough investigation of what drug residues are left behind in chicken meat as a result of what we choose to feed animals.
The National Chicken Council is shooting down the studies, saying, as the study's authors point out, this study only looked at feathers, not meat. The group adds, chickens in the U.S. produced for meat are not given arsenic as an additive in chicken feed or any of the other compounds mentioned in this study. A product that contained organic arsenic was removed from the market last year. A veterinarian who works closely with the poultry industry also says inorganic arsenic is a common heavy metal found in soil and plants.
Since most of the poultry's feed is either corn, 75% corn with 10 or 15% soybean meal, there's a possibility there could be some low levels of inorganic arsenic in the corn and soybean they eat.
Keith Nachman says while there may not be an immediate danger, more research is needed.
It only tells us that it would be worth looking in meat because some of these residues may also be there, but we can't say with any certainty that they are.
Now, a spokeswoman for the FDA tells us that the agency hasn't had enough time to review the studies in depth and that the use of the antibiotics mentioned in the study have been prohibited in poultry since 2004. And Wolf, the U.S. Poultry and Egg Association also just came out with a statement saying that some of the antibiotics cited in this study were not used in the poultry industry.
Mary Snow, thanks very much. Let's dig a little bit deeper right now with the former Agriculture Secretary during the Clinton administration, Dan Glickman. He's now a senior fellow at the Bipartisan Policy Center here in Washington. Is chicken safe to eat? Can I go home and have chicken tonight?
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to have chicken tonight as well. But I think that the story was a very good study. I think the studies are a bit alarming. I think we need more research into the whole issue of the ingredients, and the government needs to have the resources to do adequate testing and adequate reports so both the industry and the public know what's in their food. So while I don't think there's anything cataclysmic on the short term, I do think that it is worrisome that they found the residues of these things in the feed.
If you were still the Secretary of Agriculture, what would you do?
Well, most of the authority is in the hands of the FDA because they regulate food safety. They do need to have the resources. They need to have the people who are doing testing. They need the people who are doing reports. And we do need to give the public the kind of information. There's one thing that's changed dramatically over the last 30 or 40 years. People want to know what's in their food, and they want to know what's safe, and they want to take action. And so they demand that their government provides them the data for them to do that.
Organic chickens, for example. Is it wise to forget about the regular chickens and just go with organic?
No, you heard that there was some organic product that actually had some of these residues in it as well. I mean, there's nothing inherently safe or unsafe about organic or not organic. People like to buy organic organic because they choose to not want to have antibiotics in their food or other kinds of things. And that's a matter of choice. But we need to make sure that the overwhelming bulk of the product, 98, 99%, which is not organic, is safe. And if people want to eat organic, as I do on occasion, that's fine.
I guess the shocking thing to me was, why do they add all these things into the chickens, presumably? Why do they give them all these drugs?
Well, we don't know if all these things are given, but let's remember that the way we produce animals is a lot different today than we did 50 years ago. We have hundreds of thousands of animals in a very closed, confined facility. Why is it? Because it's the nature of how we eat today. It's the nature of people working, both families working. We eat a lot of fast food. So these animals move in and out of the cycle very fast. So the idea is to fatten them faster and make sure they're healthy. But when you got 100,000 in a little confined area, they're prone to get sick. That's why you give them medicine.
I always want well-done meat, whether chicken or beef or whatever, because I'm nervous about this kind of stuff. Is that smart?
Well, some food is better cooked cooked more fully. Like, for example, salmonella is cooked out.
So that's a good reason to order well done.
Well, it's good reason to cook it thoroughly. You don't have to necessarily have it without any color to it. But some of these things, like the antibiotics, they cannot be cooked out. So it depends on the thing you're talking about.
Dan Glickman, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Wolf. Okay.
New images coming into the Situation Room right now, but